We're joined now by CBS News contributor and Democratic strategist Ashley Etienne and Republican strategist Terry Sullivan. Good morning to both of you. Thanks for being here. Ashley, let's begin with you. We heard from Senator Sanders. He met with President Biden, said the White House, other Democrats need to do more to pay attention to working people across this country. Is there concern inside the Biden administration, you worked inside of it, about their connection with working voters across the country?
No, I watched the senator's interview. I mean, he opened up by giving the president a lot of credit for what he's done, negotiating to lower drug costs, record economic growth, 13 million jobs created, manufacturing's roaring back. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with the senator. You know, we've made a lot of progress under this current president that supported working Americans, but there's still more to be done. There's no question about that. But what I do appreciate is he's acknowledged the president's great work and how he's done it really together with Republicans as well to move a lot of these big bills and big landmark legislation forward.
Terry, you managed Senator Marco Rubio's 2016 presidential campaign. You know what it means to run against former President Trump. You did it. It wasn't easy for Senator Rubio in your campaign. Every Republican struggled. When you watched Ambassador Haley this morning and you watched Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in recent weeks, what do you see in the Republican race right now? Is there actually an opportunity for Haley to get some traction, or are they stuck in the single digits?
Yeah, you're right. I have experience losing to Donald Trump, so I know what it's like. And you know what? At the moment, this is what we're watching all of these candidates do. Unfortunately, they've got to engage Trump. Hope is not a strategy. And last time, there was a lot in 2016. There was a lot of hope that you can be the last one. You know, there's no way Trump can get over 50, and there's all these different things. And so I think with Haley and a lot of them, they've got to be able to go after the guy in first place. He's the de facto nominee. He's the de facto incumbent. If you don't engage him and take him on, he's going to skate to victory.
What about impeachment? We talked a little bit about it with Ambassador Haley, because Representative Taylor Greene of Georgia is talking about moving forward quickly with an impeachment of President Biden. Inside of the White House, you've worked with President Biden, you've worked with Vice President Harris. Are they preparing for a fall impeachment season?
Well, more importantly, I ran the impeachment war room for Speaker Pelosi, the first impeachment war room. And I will tell you the greatest difference is there's no evidence here. There was actually evidence when we moved to impeach Donald Trump. If you recall, he actually gave us the evidence, the recording of his phone call with Zelensky asking for dirt on Joe Biden. So that's real. I mean, we have to take a step back and really approach impeachment with a level of sobriety.
But
and
how do they
seriousness
see it this time around, the Democrats, as they come for Biden?
I mean, my recommendation to the president would be to treat it as a sideshow that it actually is. At this point, there is no evidence. They've had 5 years to drudge up some evidence on Hunter Biden, and all they found is a gun charge and tax evasion with no relationship to President Biden. So the point is I mean, I wouldn't get overly exercised or excited about an impeachment inquiry that's baseless and has no evidence and no foundation. But here, can I just say one more thing? The problem that we have is this politics of retribution, right? The American people don't want it. You know, this would be the greatest, if they move forward with an impeachment inquiry, be the greatest devastation, not just to their majority, but even to their speakership in 2024.
Well, how do the House Republicans see it? You've worked for congressional Republicans for a long time, Terry. Is Speaker McCarthy and others, are they going to go along with this push to impeach Biden? And politically, how do they really see it?
Yeah, look, I think the speaker is sober enough to realize this is not a great long-term political play, but he's got to appease the base within his caucus, and that's an issue here. And we've seen it on both sides. Look, these impeachments don't help, dating back to Clinton, do not help the party that is doing the impeaching. Historically speaking, the beneficiary of it is the president who's getting impeached. And so I would caution the Republicans on this. Going after Biden seems like a really poor decision politically.
And we talked at the beginning of the program about Senator Mitch McConnell. He's facing questions about his health. His doctor says he's fine to serve. Inside the White House, how are they handling the age question when it comes to President Biden?
Well, with a lot of humor. I mean, they've handled this issue quite a bit. It's not a new issue to them. They're very clear about the issue. But you know, I've worked for two of my bosses, both Speaker Pelosi and Biden, are 80 years old. And I've seen, you know, I watched firsthand how Speaker Pelosi handled Donald Trump masterfully, you know, and I've seen Joe Biden up close and again, you're talking about an unprecedented record of bipartisan legislation, big things for the American people that he's gotten done. So for me, age is nothing but a number, and it's very personal. What you're saying with McConnell is a serious issue, and I do believe his staff is really doing him a disservice. They need to figure out what's going on. It's serious in a way that it's not as serious with Biden nor with Pelosi and others.
Terry, you've worked for some conservative senators over the year, like the former senator from South Carolina, Jim DeMint. You know that conservative Senate world. Are they going to see this as an opening? For now, those like Senator Rick Scott are being pretty hands-off, but are they going to try to nudge McConnell out in the coming weeks?
Yeah, look, no is the short answer. We've had very old United States senators since the first United States senators. This is nothing new, and it's not even really an age issue. If the argument is, I mean, look at Fetterman. So you've got it on both sides of the aisle. You've got older like Senator Feinstein. You've got this. Look, they're not inclined to push out one of their own on either side. Clearly.
When you look at the elections, we're always talking about 2024, but I'm paying attention to 2023, these off-year elections as well. You're going to have legislative elections in Virginia. Glenn Youngkin, the governor, the Republicans out there talking about them a lot. Elections in Kentucky, Mississippi, elsewhere this fall. What are you paying attention to? Because they're often a good read on what's going to happen the next year.
Well, I'm paying attention to the issues that that are driving voter turnout. That's what's going to be important to me. Is it going to be abortion? Is it democracy, the fragility of American democracy? Is it the economy? What's going to turn out voters, but specifically these independent voters that are going to make the difference?
What do you think is going to really get them out this fall?
Well, I think it's going to be abortion. I think it's going to be democracy. It's those two issues. And
that's issues from 2022.
Absolutely. And that's what the president and his campaign are banking on. They're going to make those issues central to his argument. One, we know for a fact, well, according to polls, 70% of independents don't want a candidate who's anti-abortion. And when it comes to democracy, half the country believes that Donald Trump is guilty of having cheated the election. So those are going to be two issues that they're going to keep very central to the argument because it drives Democratic base, but it also drives independent, moderate Republican voters, and they're going to make the difference in all of these elections.
Ashley's point about democracy brings up the question of former President Trump facing 4 criminal investigations, indictments. How is that going to affect not just the Republican race, and we've talked about that a ton, but how could it affect the general election next year?
Yeah, who the heck knows? I mean, let's be honest, nothing that about Donald Trump's campaigns have ever been conventional or easy to predict. So I do think that we're in unknown territory here. And just as, oddly enough, half of America thought that being indicted was going to tank his campaign. The other half thought that it was going to be a rallying cry. It turns out it's the latter at the moment. I mean, since he's been indicted for the first time in New York, his polling numbers have gone up on the Real Clear Politics ever. But they've gone up.
You get a bump, but you don't get. You have to sustain the numbers. We're political people. It's all about the trend and sustaining the numbers.
We could keep this conversation going all morning. We might just do that. But.